He's doing everything that I hate about my business, basically.
Yes. Well.
Yes.
Someday, first her and then.
Yeah, so okay, hi everybody, welcome. I'm Tamara. I live in Portugal since 5, 6 years, something like that, 5.5, I think. And I am a systemic coach, and I am specialized in constellations, family constellations. So what I always ask first is, who knows what family constellations are? Okay, all right. Okay, mostly. No. Okay, so family constellations or systemic constellations in general are a very special tool that comes from actually psychotherapy, but can be used in different areas. So it's just basically a tool to open up the system of a topic, either it's a family or a relationship or a business, and to see what dynamics are actually going on in the system of a person, right? You can do this in a group constellation with other people, where other people kind of make a theater play about your life, right? So you choose other people to play you or your mom or your dad, and then you place them in front of you, and something very interesting happens psychologically when you see other people playing out your life. That helps you integrate and understand and really transform a lot of topics within one session because of this method of the subconscious seeing suddenly what is going on. And I do this mostly one-on-one, so I don't do it anymore. Before COVID it was groups. Now it's one-on-one, of course. And yeah, and I help people since 8 years now in different areas of their life. Like, my specialty is in this method. It's in the systemic subconscious transformation, but my clients come to me with several different topics, from mental health to relationship to business. I work with a lot of startups and entrepreneurs in helping them get over the internal blockages, but also around the structure of the business to get clarity of what to do with it. And I work a lot also with trauma, with transgenerational trauma, especially. I will talk about this more, of why this is important for entrepreneurs in general. But yeah, this is me, and I'm doing this now full time, and it's going very well. So well that I needed assistance, because otherwise I couldn't have taken more clients on. So he's now taking on everything that I don't like about my business, because the only reason why I'm an entrepreneur is because I believe I am born to do what I do, but I hate everything else around doing business, like from marketing to finances to organization to client management to everything. Like, I just want from the morning to the evening to sit in front of a person and work with them. This is all I want to do. And this I could do for hours, but marketing, after half an hour, I'm just dead. I'm like, oh, I don't want to anymore. So yeah, he's taking over the rest of it. So this is me. And I've been thinking a lot about what to say today about emotions and entrepreneurship, because there's so much and there's so many different areas that I could cover about this. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to give you like a couple of concepts, like a quick kind of introduction to kind of all the areas that I see, but then I will kind of specialize in one area that I think would be the most helpful. So when it comes to entrepreneurship and emotions, I truly believe that as soon as we have a vision and we want something, that it is possible, right? Because the brain just functions like that. It doesn't have limitations. And as soon as you can envision it and you can really think about it and see yourself in it, I think that this way is already possible. The problem is that in between, you have many, many other voices inside of you and other parts inside of you that come up that have a different opinion, right? That tell you, no, actually, this is not possible, or who do you think you are, or whatever, right? So when we talk about entrepreneurship, I always tell my clients, I feel like the main thing that I suggest everybody to get used to is the roller coaster of entrepreneurship, right? So it's so basic, and I feel like everybody knows that, but I feel like as soon as you get okay with it, I feel like there's a big relief that happens when you're an entrepreneur, which is the roller coaster of really having high, like, weeks and months where you're like this is my purpose, I love it, even financially it goes well, right? And you have like this, oh my God, I finally got it, right? Like this is how it's going to be now forever, right? But then the next week comes, right? Or the next month comes. And then suddenly you're like on the down of the roller coaster and you're like, shit, I'm only making 50 euros a month, you know, like this is, I'm not done, I'm not made for this. Maybe I should find another job, right? Like the clients are not replying, you know, like all this, then you just, you know, continue, and then the roller coaster goes up and you're like, this is now the moment where I made it. From now on, this is good. But then the roller coaster comes again, right? So one of the simplest things that I suggest everybody is to get used to the roller coaster and just continue doing your thing, right? Because the roller coaster will never stop. It will just like increase in quality the longer you do it, right? And what I mean by that is you will progress, you will grow, but you will still have then in the new level that you are, it will still feel like a roller coaster, right? You can get like, you will build up your basis and everything will go well, but the emotional roller coaster of entrepreneurship is just something you need to get used to. And what I try to do is that because right by now I recognize already when I'm on the high of the roller coaster, because I get like this overexcitement inside of me of thinking like, oh no. But then I always say, okay, now I'm on the upside of it and I'm enjoying it as long as it's here, but I'm not getting over identified with it anymore, right? I'm not like letting it consume me, because then like before it tends to, you tend to like go into this, you know, like future visions already. And this is what I try to stop now. And then especially also when I'm down, right? When it's the down part of the roller coaster, I just realize, oh, it's just a down, but it doesn't, like, I'm just waiting for the next up again, right? So you just need to get used to it. This is one of the main things about emotions and entrepreneurship that I need to already share. The second one is especially for women, right? The cycle. I am a big promoter of the menstrual cycle, and for women, especially if they're in entrepreneurship, to learn and to understand the female cycle and how our psychology and how our energy system works completely different every single week, right? And when you know how your cycle works and you know how to use it, it can actually become your superpower, right? Because if you honor your rest cycles as much as you can, I understand we live in a exactly in a different world that was built by the hormonal cycle of men, right? Because men can function every day the same. They really have the same hormonal like ups and downs every single day. This is why we live in this world right now where we actually need to function every single day the same, except of Saturday, Sunday, right? But actually every single day is the same. This is not made for us women, right? We women function differently. We have a cycle over the whole month that changes. And as much as you can, I really invite you to, around your PMS especially, and around your bleeding, to take as much rest as you can. I know this sounds like, but how should I do that? Then how should I do like my business otherwise? But I promise you, the more you honor your rest cycle, the more you will get creativity, because we have a superpower as women around, like after our menstruation and ovulation, we get a high of creativity, communication skills, and efficiency, right? And I have many theories of why this is magical in us and why we can actually then like create so much like different magic and beautiful magic when we honor that. So when you honor your rest cycle, you get almost like a little like bonus, right? As a woman, that if you honor that, you can really be like, you're so in tune with creativity and ideas and energy that this is what can actually catapult your business in a different beautiful level. Because if you don't do this, you will feel almost like burned out all the time and you don't know why, right? Because as a woman, you are supposed to rest, you are supposed to tune in and connect to your, this is where I go a little bit spiritual, where I'm like, us as women, we're supposed to connect to our intuition, right? We are birthing ideas from a different place than men, right? So if we honor that, we can really, our life, I think, reacts to that, right? So this is the other thing that I could talk about for hours, right? When it comes to entrepreneurship. But now what I want to also talk about is and I'm trying to kind of, I brought like something to draw, because I want to draw how I see how we people function and what happens in entrepreneurship when you get a block, right? So I'm gonna draw it down for you. And I'm gonna explain to you the 3 phases, okay? We people, and I, when I work with my clients, I guide them through 3 phases. And those 3 phases happen on a big scale in life, and they happen also on small scales in life, okay? It's like almost like a little journey of the psyche, of what the psyche needs in order to transform to the next level, right? Okay, so how we work, and what I mean by that is this, what I'm telling you now, those 3 cycles, they happen again on a grand scheme of your life. You can even, I invite you even to kind of reflect a little bit where you think you are in your life in general. But this 3-phase cycle happens also on a small scale. And what I mean by that is, as soon as you get a block or like an emotional, oh no, what am I going to do with this, or your doubts come in, you can also apply it to that small like process inside of you. Okay, so it will make it a little bit clearer when I explain it to you. So the first phase, I call the healing phase with my clients, right? Because what we first need to do is to get you rid of your heavy bubbles. Okay, this is how I call them. And I'm going to draw for you what I mean and explain to you what I mean. So this is how I see how every person that comes to me looks like systemically. Okay? So every person comes with a topic that bothers them to me, right? And say, hey, something is going on. I don't know how to get rid of this, or I don't know how to get to the next stage, or whatever. And this is how how I see them, okay? So so basically, a person comes to me and tells me all those like heavy things that are inside of their system, where and I draw a circle because it feels like they are running in a circle internally that they cannot get out of, right? So it's always like the same pattern, the same blockage, something that they just cannot get over, right? And I call this phase the healing phase, because what we need to do first is to take every single one of those bubbles, right? And look at them and heal them, right? Heal them, or like put them in the right corners, or transform them, or do something with them, right? Because usually, like if I talk now about my clients and their healing journey, this is the phase where I need to do the most transgenerational and inner child work with them. Because most of our blockages and beliefs that are heavy, that are holding us back, come actually from either transgenerational patterns, or from something that happens to us that we applied to reality and now we believe it's true, or about ourselves, right? This is why the healing phase, right? But the more we do that, the more we come into the second phase, right? And this is how I see my clients in the second phase, okay? So let me draw that like this. And then from somewhere, something like this happens. Okay, so, okay, just stay with me, okay? Let me explain that. So the second phase, what happens is that we slowly start to push away those bubbles, right? And the client suddenly sees, like, this is also the separation. This is what I'm gonna do with you then in the exercise. The first thing that needs to happen is, because when people are here, I call it also the over-identification. People think it is true, right? Often when clients come to me, they think it is true that they cannot do something, or they think it is true that they have a block and that this is the reality that they live in. When in actuality, it's just a bubble that we need to separate from them, for them to see, this is actually not me. It's just something I learned, or something that happened to me that made me believe that this is true. And then when we separate those bubbles from them, like the more we do that, the more my clients come into the second phase. And the second phase I call the connection to the self again, right? The embodiment. And what I mean by that is, the more we separate, the more from somewhere comes like the actual authentic life energy of the client back. And this is the phase where my clients say, this is who I actually am. This is how I actually feel when I'm not full with this crap in my system that holds me back, right? Now I feel how much energy I actually really have, instead of what I thought that, when this old belief was there. So the own life force energy comes back into my clients. And this is also the phase with my clients when they start attracting new things, right? Because when we talk about law of attraction, and this, it's just science, right? Like we attract what we believe is true about our reality, right? So when, as long as my clients are here, they attract things that are difficult, that are impossible, that are, because this is how their system is vibrating on. But the second, I wish it would be that easy, but but the more we work on it, right, the more we kind of separate the bubbles, and the life force energy comes back in that really belongs to them and is authentic to their own destiny energy, the more they start attracting the actual things that fit that, right, that match this new energy. And this is really almost in all the cases of my clients, this is the phase where they say they're suddenly, I don't know, if they didn't have a partner before, oh, they met somebody cute, right? Or oh, suddenly they say like, oh, I met this person who wants to do business with me. Or they say, oh my God, my boss suddenly, and this is not about magic, it's about like literally law of attraction. It's because your system starts to vibrate on another frequency, which is way more your own. Your reality starts shifting, right? So this is the second phase. And the third phase is what I call the creation phase, the purpose in action. So what happens is that, let me see. Yeah, it's almost like this. So the third phase is this. And what I mean by that is that the ideal, I believe, in my experience, that I am done and finished with a client when I can make them operate and live out of their own authentic energy force. Okay? Because as soon as a client, as a person in general, is in their authentic energy force, instead of being stuck, because this is a circle, right? But the more we work on it, their energy force, their destiny energy, starts becoming a spiral, right? And what I mean by that is the third phase, the more we separate, the more the client sees who they really are and what they really like and what they really don't like. And, you know, the new things start coming in. I recognize the third phase by the questions that they bring to the sessions. So what I mean by that is they start, instead of here, they have completely different questions when they come in. They tell me, but what do I do? It's so heavy. I cannot get over it. My life is still what, you know, like we need to work on the heavy stuff. And when they come here, they're like, I love my relationship, but how can I improve my sexuality with my partner? Or I love my job, but I want to make 10K instead of 5K a month, right? Or it's like, it's getting fun. It's getting playful. It's getting about evolution. It's getting about how can I get to the next evolution of my life, and how can I play with destiny? How can I play with what I actually want to create in my life? It's about basically what they're saying is, I like everything what I have now, but let's play, right? Like, how can we get better? How can we make it more? How can we, you know? Or they come in and say, okay, I get what I wanted, but now let's work on the next cycle, which is I want to become a dad, right? I want a family. Like, what do I do now? And then we work, and basically then we start from the beginning. So so this is why I support my clients long term, because I don't believe that it's ever done, right? But the only thing that happens is that life just gets more fun, but they usually come back to me as soon as the next phase of their level starts, because then we need to start from the beginning. Basically, we look at whatever is there about the new topic, we get them, but then like we get them very like quicker to this stage, right? Then when somebody didn't still work or still has a lot of like transgenerational inner child wounding, we need to spend like quite some time here before, but then like as soon as we get you kind of like here, it gets fun, right? Does this make sense to everybody? Yes. So what I am curious about is, first of all, like, where do you identify yourself in general? I know that life is not as linear and not as three-phase as I just like draw down beautifully like this, but like, where would you place yourself? Like, with which phase do you identify the most? Can you tell?
When I was in Berlin, I was here.
Yes.
Caparica, I'm here.
Yeah. Yes.
That's my move. Caparica
Yeah.
changes people.
Yes, it does. Yeah, I felt the same. For me, it was the same.
For me, it's I'm leaving the circle.
You're living in the circle?
No, I'm leaving.
You're leaving.
Basically.
Yes. this is what happens a lot too, that people say they're in between stages. They identify with like transitioning phases, and I could talk hours about transitioning phases and how I recognize them. But so you're saying that
I'm recognizing the limiting beliefs, and I'm working on the authenticity.
Yeah, I see. Anybody else?
I feel the same.
Me too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I see. Okay.
I've been in the third stage,
Yeah.
but going back to the
yeah, yeah. So there's a new phase starting. Yes. Yeah. Where do you think you are? Do you know?
And also right in between.
Yeah, I think so too. I think so too. Yeah.
But also probably coming back already.
In different topics, right? Because we have topics where we feel more here, but then in general in life, we feel, this is what I identified. Most of my clients feel like a general kind of where they are, but then in certain topics they feel here, but in certain topics they feel here, of course, right? This is what I mean. It's on a grand scheme, but it's also like in small areas, right? I studied psychology. I started with psychology for 2 years, but then I realized it's not psychology that I want to do. It is psychotherapy, right? But psychotherapy is privatized in Vienna. You need 50,000 euros to study psychotherapy, right? Which I didn't have back then. So I went on a mission because I knew what I'm here to do since always. Like when I was 16, I found my first psychology books, right? And since then to this day, I'm mostly only reading them, right? I'm only reading concepts around humanity, concepts around psychology, concepts around emotions. It's my obsession to this day, and I'm 31 now. So it's it's just how I function. It's just how I see the world. It's just how I was born. This is what I mean. Like it's just who I am and how I breathe, basically. But then what I did was I knew I was on a mission. I need to find something where I can live what I am out in the world, but apparently I cannot study it, right? Because I don't have the funds to do it. So I just went on a mission to find something like tools and concepts and courses or certifications that I can do that come as close to psychotherapy as possible, right? And this is when I stumbled across a constellation. And the first time I saw a constellation, I just my whole body, I knew this is my language. Like because when you attend a constellation, you know what I mean. It's so unique and it's so special and it's so complex and it's so transformative and profound in the same time. But the first time that I stood there that was with 21, I think, something like that. I just knew it in my whole body. This is it. I understood everything what is going on. I understood why though they do. I was just obsessed with this, and to this day I am still obsessed with constellations. I did so many things from, I always say, like from ayahuasca to hypnotherapy to like cognitive therapy, like from the most basic grounded science-based methods to like the crazy spiritual ones. And I'm still the most in love with constellations to this day. Because I would have switched if I would have found something, that calls my soul better. I would have switched. But constellations are still to this day something incredibly magical for me. I'm still mesmerized by them, and this is what I do basically. And this is what I mean. I could sit the whole day from 8 o'clock in the morning until the evening and just talk with people about those concepts. But if you put me in front of a finance sheet, right, I am just out after 10 minutes. I started 3 years ago, I think 3.5 years ago, and I went through, I think, almost now 1.5 to 2 years of really struggling financially. I always had enough to cover like my bills, but I knew about the roller coaster. For some reason, I was okay with it. I know that some people have a stronger scarcity when it comes to money. Because I just believed in what I did so strongly. I really had months, I'm not joking, but I made like 70 euros. I always had like, somehow I could always manage it to cover it up, right? But I'm just saying that to tell you like the scarcity and the ups and downs are very, very normal. But like only the last 1.5 years, maybe 2, yeah, but it always continued growing. This is why I never stopped, right? Like I got the downs and I had moments where I was like what am I doing? This is stupid. If my parents would know, right? Like how this is not working, right? But it always kept growing and growing and growing, and it still does to this day. And now, of course, like I'm in a comfortable position, but it takes time. So what I want you first to understand of how the psyche works, okay, is my bus analogy. Okay, if you're one of my clients, you have heard this in millions of times, but my bus analogy, okay, the psyche, we function like a bus, okay, and on the wheel of your bus, whoever drives your bus is ideally your adult self, because I work a lot with the adult self. This is basically the adult self concept, right? Who you are like calm, you're confident, you know who you are, everything's fine, you have the overview of your life, you have logic, you have everything, rationality available to you, everything is fine, and you're driving your bus. But then something happens in front of your bus, and you have many parts of you in the back of your bus, right? Many inner child parts, many doubtful parts, many fearful parts, right? And depending on what happens in front of your bus, it could be that one of those parts in the back gets triggered, runs in front, pushes over your adult self, and takes over the bus and starts driving your bus. This is the moment when you feel that you shift into a whole different reality. It's literally when the other part takes over inside of your system, which is one of those bubbles, you start over identifying with this part, and you feel like suddenly you lose all of those concepts that you had like a couple of seconds before, even, right? It happens in fights with your partner too, right? That suddenly you're like, oh my God, this is the best guy ever. And then suddenly he does something or she does something, and you switch into a part that sees him or her as, you know, super horrible or hurtful, or you are thinking about breaking up. You know, it's like this whole different scenario. This is the first thing I need you to understand about parts, is that it really, every part has its own way of thinking, its own way of feeling in the body, its own way of how to see reality, and also how they see the world, like their opinions about the world and their opinions about themselves and other people. So every part switches. When you switch parts, it can feel like you're in a whole different movie with whole different set of opinions and, you know, feelings even in your body. And what we first need to do is to separate those parts from who you are. So when you are getting into one of those states where you feel like, oh shit, you know, like I don't feel well, or like I'm afraid about this or that, I want you to do parts work first. Because what first needs to do is the separation, right? We need to see the part in front of us. So you connect back to, it's not actually me. Because the hurtful part about the first phase and those doubts is the, as I said, the over identification. You believe you are suddenly this part instead of seeing it as, oh, now this part is coming up again that doesn't allow me to do finances because I'm afraid of finances and I don't want to touch them, so I'm procrastinating, but actually I need to do them. But there's a part in me that resists them. So let me sit down and work with this part who doesn't want to do finances, because me as an adult self, I know that I need to do finances in order to get to my goal, but this part doesn't allow me to do finances. So let me sit down, and instead of and you see how over identifying can sabotage you, because if you think it's reality and you don't want to do finances, you're just not going to do them, because the part convinces you that it's dangerous to do them, or whatever the belief of that part is, right? So we need to first identify our little scared parts inside of us that are holding us back from our vision. Does it make sense? And this is why we have like those little papers. Like, you don't even need to write if you don't feel like it, but I want to guide you through like the main questions of what you can ask yourself to separate the part, right? So the first question is environment. Okay, you need to think about, and maybe you can all do it right now with me, just like a little outline of it. Okay, is think about your life and your business as an entrepreneur, and think about one situation that bothers you, where you feel like a block, or, you know, something where you feel like you cannot get over it, right? Or there's like a part that blocks you. The first question is, in which environment is this part coming up? So what is happening in the outside? Are you alone, or are you with somebody when this part comes up? Is it about a certain topic that it comes up, or is it about, you know, something you need to do, or somewhere where you need to be, or, you know what I mean? Like, what is the environment? In which situations does this part come up for you, right? What are the triggers? Basically, we want to identify what happens in front of your bus that makes this part come up. Because you have other moments in your life when you're like, what is in front of your bus doesn't trigger this part, but something happens in front of your bus that triggers this part, right? The second question, I'm just going to let you write a little bit. So the second question that you want to ask yourself when you identify in which environment, when does it come up? Like, are you outside? Are you inside? Are the people? Are they not people? Is it a certain topic? Are you on your laptop? Are you, like whatever the environment is? I want you to think about, how does this part feel? So when you know what it triggers, try to figure out the body sensation of it, because every part has different bodily sensations and emotions that comes with it. So is your chest tight, or do you get dizzy? Do you get tired? Do you feel heaviness? Is there anger or resistance? Like, just, this is what you need to do almost with every single part of you. You need to sit down, like ideally after this, right, at home, and you really want to write it out, because what this does, what we're doing right now, is the separation process. Your consciousness starts realizing, it's something separate, and you start getting, the second that you do this exercise, you already start getting a little bit back to your adult self energy, just by that, right? Because something in your psyche starts seeing like, oh, it's actually not me, I am something greater behind, I am something more powerful behind, this is just a part, right? So the second part is like the feeling, right? Like, how does it feel? What body sensations does it have? The third one is the thoughts. What kind of thoughts is this part having? How do they sound like? Because every part can have a different, even tone of voice in your head. A part can sound like this and can be super harsh and can be like, no. Another part can be super like soft and quiet and afraid, and talk like this about the world, and like it. Every single part has even a different tone of voice and beliefs that they have. So what beliefs does this part have about what opinions, right? What are the opinions about the part and about the situation that it has, right? And when you do that, so we have the environment, we have the feeling, we have the thoughts. I want you to think about how this part, like I just said it, like the opinions, but like, how does it relate to the world? What opinions does it have about the world and about other people and about you? So we want to cover this connection, that because every part has a different connection to the world, to people, and to you, like to itself. So we want to figure out, what is this part believing about the world, about other people, and about itself. And when you cover that, you then want to go into almost like the full separation of it. And what I mean by that, when you start writing down, you will see that in your mind, you will start to form this part, right? This part will start to get like edges and like a silhouette and a form that starts creating. And this is exactly what we want. This is the most part. If you don't ever do anything with your emotions ever, I guarantee you, if you start just separating those thoughts from you and see them as like a whole part, I want you to ask at the end, after you do all of that and you start writing and analyzing and reflecting, you will start getting like a shape of a part. And what you can do then is to ask yourself, now, if this part would be in front of me, how would this part look like? What kind of energy would it emit? Like, what kind of mood does this part have if it would be in front of me? Like, how would it look like? Is it like a scared little child, or is it like a big, angry, pissed, I don't know, like giant who just hates the world, right? Like, how is this part, like, what is this energy of this part? What is this, how do you say, what mood does this part have inside of it, right? And when you do that, the last thing that you can do to really bring in the separation is you label it. You give this part a name. It could be whatever name. You can give it a real name, or you can give it like an abstract name, right? I have my, I just forgot, because I didn't work with it for so long. I don't even remember how I called it, because I know the imprint of it in my body as soon as it comes up. It's the lonely one, but I had a name for it. I forgot. I can't remember, unfortunately. But it is the one that, like, I have a big part from my childhood that believes that she's completely alone in the world and nobody's helping me and I cannot do this because I'm completely disconnected. This part, when it comes up, it really believes that there's nobody there that I can connect to, and I get into a sense of hopelessness and helplessness inside of me. That when I over-identify with it, it takes off all my energy and I don't want to do anything anymore because everything seems pointless, right? But by now I know this part, and I know it's part of my past, right? I know she comes up when something happens where I don't feel supported enough, or where this is why I create my reality, especially also with him. Like I try, like when you know your parts, you know what they need in order to soothe, right? Like the support, the being connected, the not being alone in something, right, is then deeply healing for this part. But so the last thing that you want to do is to label it so you can play with it when it comes up in your body, right? And you recognize it as an old part and not anymore as the truth. Because if you don't, you see how if you don't do the separation process and the part comes up, you believe it's your reality, right? And this is when it gets tricky, because this is when you are stuck, unnecessarily stuck way too long in an in an insecure old cycle that stops you from actually going to your goal and going to what you actually want to create, right? And then of course, like first of all, this is like the first thing we want to do, the separation, right? And what that does is already like a little bit, you see a little bit of separation in that, right? And this alone is usually so powerful that you will feel tired after that, right? So what I mean by that is your psyche, this is a big chunk of work for your psyche and your subconscious, right? You will feel, because I have many like following exercises of what to do next, but you will see that if you really sit down and you're in the middle of a trigger, or you're in the middle of something like that's blocking you, you will see that if you start answering these questions, it will be tiring for your psyche to separate that, because it's a big force that happens internally that is beautiful and nice, but you will see that alone will already do a lot, right? And yeah, so this is, I think, the first chunk before I even continue talking with the next parts. Does it make sense for everybody? Yes. Yeah. With that, like exactly what you say, like the awareness part is already what rises your vibration. Because what lowers your vibration is when you identify when there's no awareness, as you said, the no awareness part of you think it's reality. But as soon as you raise yourself up and do this parts work, you already raise your awareness internally, which already creates more life force energy for you, because you then connect back again to your adult self. And your adult self is the one that knows what is going on. Your adult self knows, I want a business, I want to make money. In order to do that, to make money, I need to do A, B, C. But then those parts come up and they say, oh, but A is scary. I don't want to do that, right? And then you stay stuck in that for way too long because you think, oh, I don't want to do that, right? But then if you do parts work, you realize it's just a little part that is scared because we're doing something new, or whatever the parts is saying, right? Yeah. And for example, I will give you an example with me, okay? I was in a business program in Spain a couple of years ago. And I had, as one of the homeworks, I needed to ask all of my clients of why they are working with me, right? So I asked all my clients 2-3 questions around why they are working with me, because I needed to do like a business something, and like ideal client kind of thing. And they all, of course, all my beautiful clients, they replied to me, sent me voice messages, sent me emails, sent me everything. So what happened was that 10 months after that, I didn't touch those reviews, right? They sent it all to me, but I just didn't touch them. And every month that went by, I was like, next month I'm going to do it, or tomorrow I'm going to do it, right? But it just didn't happen. And then at some point I was like, okay, come on, right? Like it's 10 months, something is going on here, obviously, that is not in my control. Because if I would be in control, my adult self would be in control, I would freaking read those reviews since forever already. But I don't. So I sat down and I did parts work, right? And I did exactly what I'm showing you right now, plus like a little bit of integration afterwards, but this is not even the point. So, and what I figured out is that I have this beautiful, sweet little part that is very, very afraid of being judged, right? And hugely afraid about the opinions of others, right? So this part didn't allow me to look at my reviews because she was afraid about the concept of opinions of others, right? So when I realized that, and when I wrote her down and I realized that this is her fear, I, of course, realized I could talk to her as my adult self. It was an automatic process. It's not that I sat down and talked to her. It's like an automatic process that happens, that you realize when you see this part. I realized, oh, it's just a fear because it's not real. Because I know that my client, I know that for a fact, every one of those reviews is positive because my clients love what we are doing, right? There is not even, even though I knew, right, that those were all my like long-term clients, that I knew that they love my work, but still this part didn't have connection to rationality. And this is the danger about parts. They don't have access to rationality and logic, right? So it doesn't make sense until you separate it, you see the fear, and then your adult self can say, oh, honey, don't worry. They all love you, right? Nothing about those reviews will hurt. And this is the second, literally, I'm not kidding. I'm not lying. I stood up, I put up my laptop, and I just started reading those reviews. And of course, all of them were positive. But I could, if I wouldn't have done parts work, I wouldn't have read those reviews until now, probably, right? But this is just for you to get an example. If you realize you have a blockage to something that your adult self knows that it needs to do in order to get somewhere, parts work is the deal, right? Separation first. And then already this will help you, let alone then some like, integration exercise. You have like, I have how to solve limiting beliefs exercises and all of that. If like a part is really resistant, right, and really tries to convince you, I have different like exercises to that. But this is, I feel like, the first step that we can do. Because the thing, just for you to understand the basic concept of it, and maybe you can then try to apply it by yourself with those parts, is to listen to the story of it, right? Because you cannot get rid of parts, and the goal is not to get rid of it, because it's like we all what a pity. So what we want to do is to listen to its concerns, because almost every part is an inner child part of you, a little sweet little soul that just didn't get the proper support, the proper love, the proper acceptance in this life around it, right? Like with my opinion part, right? It was just a little girl who either already got like hurt by something, or didn't have enough support to learn that it doesn't matter because you're great anyway, right? Like something about self-worth, something about, so and this is like the next step that we need to do. The integration happens when you give this part what it needs in order to calm down, because there is a need, right? And this is when we go into the next phase of it, is the emotional phase of the part. You start working with the part, and you start figuring out. I always ask, and maybe you can even write it down. I feel like the next step would be to figure out what is the core belief of the part and the core wound of the part. So there is a belief, a core thing that this part believes about itself, and for that, like I also have like a little exercise of like how to go through the beliefs of it, so you can really figure out what is the core thing. And when you know the core thing, you know what to do and what to give this part in a very loving, accepting, nurturing way. And this is when integration happens, right? Because you will not get rid of these parts in your bus. The only thing that can happen is when they start running in front, you will get enough knowledge about them, so you turn around and you tell them, I know you want to come up now because this is happening. I know enough about you to know that you are now coming up because somebody said this, or I know that you are triggered by this environment, but don't worry, I am here, right? You don't need to come up because I know you are afraid because finances scare you, but I am here to hold you and to nourish you and to tell you that everything is fine, and I can continue to be in control. So you do the parts work. You figure out that the part is afraid of the bad reviews, and you know as your adult self, oh, probably there are bad reviews. You talk to the part and you say, and you calm it down. You say, I know you're afraid of the bad reviews, and I cannot save you from that, but we still want to read them because there is something and the adult self argument is the important one. Is you talk to the part and you say, trust me, I know it's hard. I will help you to get through this, but we need to read them because we want to learn something from it, right? So you in my example, it was easy because I just needed to say like, don't worry, your fear is not real, right? But if the fear is real, you need to reparent the part. This is the emotional work of it, right? You need to talk to it about its fears, and you need to be the adult one that tells the part what it needs to hear to still do it even though it's uncomfortable. Because this is what, because as an adult, you also need to learn to do, especially as an entrepreneur, right? Many things that are not comfortable. But with parts, if you have identified what the core, because if you don't know what the core fear is and how to deal with it, it can freeze you, right? It freezes you into non-action. When you do parts work and you figure out what the fear is and you can reparent it, even though it's hard, there's still a movement forward that is possible with the part, even though you don't like it, because you hold the hand of the part and you say, I know it sucks, but let's do this because we want to get somewhere. And then you try to convince the part of why you want to get there, even though it's hard. But now it's hard to especially feel about the body and the emotions. But when you are alone and you really sit down, you will see that as soon as you start writing, your body will already react. So you just need to listen to you just go with every sensation that happens. And then with that, the story will already start to build, right, in the exercise. But yeah, so I feel like, as you said, like almost like a meditation vibe where you can really tune in and connect to how your body is reacting. Because as soon as you start, this is why it's so exhausting for the brain, because as soon as you start doing the exercise, your body will feel and go through movements and go through all of those things that you're writing and thinking about. And you go with that. Like, I'm sure that you will, things will come up already. Yeah. Yeah, this is the magic of constellations. Like, this is why I always say, you please also come just as a participant, because many people ask me, why should I participate in another person's story, right? But this is what happens. Like, it's so powerful to be a part of a different person, because we all have the same parts basically. So you very often get a part that resonates so much with your own life, and you get the learnings and the teachings from the other person's perspective, that it can do that. All right. Any other parts that wants to be shared, that you want to share, whatever you came up with?
I can do.
Yeah.
I have this, I call it the responsibility avoider. So I went to the questions, and the first one was like environment. So what is the trigger?
Yeah.
And it's like long-term tasks, like the task that you have to do many times. Like, because I'm really good, if you give me a task, I'll do it right away.
Yeah.
But if I have to do it every Monday, like the first 2 Mondays, it will go good, but the third and fourth, I'll be like, nah, you know. And then I push it far away. And then the next question, how does this part feel?
Yeah.
And it always feels like paralyzed, avoidant, kind of scared. Yeah, so the next one. What thoughts does the part have? It's mostly, I don't want to do it. It's like the stubborn kid, like, no, I don't want to. Like, let's do it later. Let's do it whenever. And like the opinions that it have, it's like I kind of self-manipulate. So I lie to myself. Like, oh no, you're actually good at it. So you can do it anytime. You don't have to do it on Monday. You can also do it on a Tuesday. But then I know, no, you will never fucking do it.
Yeah.
You just have to sit down. Yeah, so I think then I have to come back to my adult self and be like,
Yeah, exactly.
stop lying to yourself.
Yeah. Yes.
Just sit down. It's not that bad.
Yeah. And
It's because mostly like those tasks that I have, they only take like 10 minutes.
yes.
You know, it's like this tiny, tiny task. But I will have to do it again, and that's what I call it.
Yeah. And this, I can already hear, this is literally just the surface of it, right? So if you ask deeper of why this part avoids responsibility, why doesn't want to do it, I'm sure you will reach either a fear or like a belief about consequences or something that goes even deeper. Because of course now we don't have the time for it, but if you really sit down and go through it, you will reach depths where you finally realize, this is the emotional imprint of the part of why it doesn't want to do it. Does it make sense? But it's so true, because this is exactly how you need to talk to children. When a child feels like something is boring, you cannot make them just convince them like, no, it's cool. They're like, why it's cool? Tell me, show me, right? So you need to figure out, like, if a task is boring, you need to connect it to pleasure, right? So the pleasure center is a big part that you can work with as like an entrepreneur, because then you, for example, in your case, if you have like this Monday task, You can make it a routine that you go to the beach, to like a cafe at the beach, or order something cool, right? Only when you do this task. So your brain connects, this part with something cool and fun. And you can work, or like with the reward, right? Tell him like, if you do this, we go to Disneyland after. This is what works with children, right? Exactly. So this is what you can do. You connect it with pleasure.